finally, after all these years, coincidence happens that a suggestion that I have had on this channel many times is finally being applied in the real world. And I'm really curious to see what are the effects of it. Because I'm curious, like, if I was in power and I would implement some of my ideas, how effective would they be? So what am I talking about? Well, you know how it is when a leftist activist wants to gain power and privilege over other human beings. What they usually do is they would go to a place like a university and they would say something like, oh, this place is just filled with racismus. It's racismus everywhere. Everywhere I look, I see racismus. But luck would have it that I am a trained anti-racist. And if you just manage to put me in a position of power and privilege and allow me to dictate how other human beings can speak and what they're allowed to think, and you pay me a lot of money, then all of these troubles will go away. Right? So, for example, the position of a diversity officer at an American university is something that I find it bewildering that students aren't complaining about. Because think about it, like one of the biggest complaints that students are having about universities is that they are too expensive, that the student debt is a big problem. So when people are barely able to pay this, you have the university paying people over $300,000 a year in order to do diversity, which according to statistics doesn't even increase the diversity, right? So it's almost like a black hole for money. It's just money going poof. Now, if you want to have a diversity officer, like, can't you have one for, I don't know, $50,000 a year? I mean, what the hell is that guy doing? Is he shitting gold? Why is he being paid so much? Right? But as you can see, it's a very coveted position, one of wealth and privilege, and like you get to decide what other human beings are allowed to say. You get to decide what other human beings are allowed to think. Because if they don't, then they get expelled from the university. So of course, you know, these activists are encouraged to maintain the idea that there's a lot of racismus at these universities, these places of learning, right? And it's something that you notice even people like Rav D'Angelo doing in her book. Like, she's a white woman, and the first thing she says in her book is that she's a racist. And under normal circumstances, any other person that would do the same would get instantly fired. Like, they would get an army of activists trying to get them fired from their job. But in her case, for some reason, that doesn't happen. Why is it? I mean, she confessed, she admits, you know, there are other people that deny racismus. But she is openly saying it in her best-selling book. She's like coming out from the gate and she's saying like, yeah, I'm a racist. Nothing happens to her, right? So this is my point. It's like, why is nothing happening to these people that confess, that admit, that take responsibility for this, right? So now, finally, I get to see consequences happening to Princeton University, which is a good thing. I think consequences should happen to these people that are openly claiming to be racists, right? So what exactly is happening? Well, the university president at Princeton probably wanting to have a couple more measures that normal people would not consent or allow to be subjugated by. He is saying, no, look, it's really bad. There's racismus everywhere here, right? Racismus is filling, and the only way we can make it go away if you allow us to impose some restrictions upon you. That's how it works, okay? The only problem is that this twat has been at this university for more than a decade in his position of El Presidente. So then the question becomes, why is he incompetent? I mean, for decades he was fine with it. Imagine this. Imagine if you have a nuclear power plant and someone like Anton Dyatlov, which is at the head of the nuclear power plant, comes up and says that for the last decade we've had leaks from the power plant. But it's okay, because from today forward we're going to fix it. Like, up until now, we probably got a lot of people sick. You know, a lot of people are suffering from radiation poisoning, but it's fine. From tomorrow, all of this is going to be fixed. Do you not think that consequences would happen to him? It's like, well, if you knew about it all this time, why didn't you do something about it? What are the measures that you decided to take? What? And not only that, like who's responsible? Someone needs to get fired over this, right? That's how normal people think. And it seems that the American University State's Department on Education has some normal people at the helm, which are now going to punish Princeton University for confessing that they have been racists for decades. For decades, like, can you imagine this institution staffed by righteous, left-leaning academics being not only racist, even what? No, they're systemic. It's an entire system. An entire system that they have used to subjugate those students of color. Absolutely horrible and unacceptable. People should get fired over this. Or if you can't fire them, because, oh no, they have tenure. They have tenure. Oh, okay, then defund them. Why should American taxpayer money go to this system of racists? It's horrible. Can you sleep at night knowing that if you're an American, your taxpayer money goes to these people that openly proclaim that the place of work that they're going to is systemically racist? Like, I understand, you know, if it happens like a person here or there drops an N-bomb, you know, even that is abhorrent, but like, this is worse. It goes all the way to the top. The entire system. Okay, well, the entire system should be fired. Right? Like the entire system should be dismantled. Fire everyone at that university and bring some righteous, normal people there that aren't racist then. Right? Like that's how normal people would think. And finally, we get to see that after all these years of having these leftists that openly say, oh no, this university has a rape culture. Well, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Like, who are the people in charge that are allowing this to happen? Fire all of them. I don't care about what they talk. I care about the results. Look at the results. What are the results? Rape culture. Everyone is to be fired. Everyone. We can't risk it. We can't risk it. Even a single person that doesn't get fired might be the one responsible and poison the new administration. So every single time these people are openly admitting to a problem, they should all be fired. Can't fire them? Stop paying them public tax money then. I mean, imagine if a hospital would come out and they would say, yeah, you know, like, we had a lot of infectious disease being spread through our hospital and we didn't do enough in the past. You know, for the last 10 years, people who came here got even more sick when they went home. But from now on, we're going to change it. Oh, bullshit! Bullshit! Who's responsible? Who's responsible? That's normal thinking. All right, you need to start thinking like normal people from now on. Like this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So look at this, dear Presidente Ace Grabber. Since you became the president in 2013, and in exchange for well over $75 million in federal Title IV taxpayer funds alone, look how much money to fund a system of can you imagine? I can't imagine. My God, $75 million for racist. Princeton University has repeatedly represented and warranted to the United States Department of Education that they have compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. And this means that no person in the United States shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal finance assistance. It was a system there. A system! A system! Like, try to understand how dangerous we're talking about. Also, Princeton has made many material non-discrimination and equal opportunity representations to students, parents, and consumers in the market for education certifications during this time. Now, this is not me accusing Princeton University. No, this is like the president. Look at this quote. Look at this quote. A letter from the president of the university efforts to combat systemic racism. He said that Princeton is exploring the possibility of a new credit or degree granting program that would extend Princeton's teachings to a new range of students from communities disproportionately affected by systemic racism and related forms of disadvantage. Well, why were you discriminating to them up till now? Why were you doing this to them up till now? You horrible, horrible human being. So up till now, you are discriminating against them. And only after 10 years do you decide to take steps. This is just abhorrent. Look at this. Because of racism, you announced race-based diversity measures for hiring, procurement, teaching, fellowship, and research funding. So an update and overview of Princeton University, ongoing efforts to combat racism. They said all of this. Like for decades they were doing it. Look at it. Based on its admitted racism. So for 10 years they were combating racism. Like, can you imagine this? Like, if someone does something for 10 years unsuccessful, don't you think that maybe someone should be changed or replaced? I mean, maybe the person actually wants to accomplish change. But if after 10 years they can't, maybe they're incompetent. Maybe they just can't. So Princeton should provide requested records, make available the identified personnel for transcribed interviews under oath. Yeah, I mean, it's systemic at Princeton. Yeah, absolutely, everyone should be interviewed under oath, so we can find out, like, this is the systemic. It's a little bit ambiguous, isn't it? It's like blaming everyone. No, like, let's find who are the persons responsible and in what amount. In what percentage, how much percentage of racism has Billy, the professor, contributed to the university's negative learning environment? So, yeah, they're going to be interviewed now. And they risk losing public funding. Look at this. A spreadsheet identifying each person who has, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, been excluded from participation, been denied the benefits, or been subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal finances, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what I think? I think that this should be done to all of the United States systems, because I understand the US is suffering from systemic racism. Okay, so let's look at Hollywood. How many people at Hollywood have contributed to systemic racism? Because they're responsible for American culture, right? Like, American culture is a culture of racism. Okay, let's go and see how many people at CNN, how many people at MSNBC, how many people at these organizations responsible for spreading culture are also guilty of endangering the good morals and behaviors of decent American folk by contributing to this racism. Every single one should have, like, these audits. I expect a lot of people will be fired, right? Because, like, you can't have systemic racism if no one is racist in that system, right? Like, so from every single part, the Democratic Party, another interesting aspect. Like, how many people from the Democrats are guilty? Like, apparently, recently, one of Biden's staffers has been found into that in the past he was going into trolling online with racism. Can you imagine this? Horrible, right? So, like, how many more people like that are there in politics? We need to know. Like, root them out. Root all of the racists out, right? I'm pretty sure I'm going to get supported by all the left-leaning people watching this. You didn't think I would be on your side, but I am. I'm absolute. Like, same with rape culture. Like, how many actors in Hollywood are responsible? Again, we need names. If I don't see at least 10 of them, then I don't think they're being very serious enough about this issue. Again, it's an entire culture. It's like, okay, well, then that means a lot of people in the culture are responsible. Let me know what you think, and I'll be watching this unfold with a lot of interest. And I think it should be done more often. Honestly, every single time you have one of these activists admitting, confessing, there should be consequences against them, just like there's consequences against any normal people. Like, if you find out that Billy is a racist, the next day they're going to have people calling his employer and trying to get him fired. So why is Billy less than this professor? Huh? Are they afraid of the professors? Oh, then it's fine. You have the backing of the US government now. Don't be afraid. Speak out. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section.